Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Want to remind everybody as I get going here today, if you have a comment and you're watching on the Facebook or YouTube streams for the Polite Society podcast, go ahead and comment on those live videos. I get your comments right away, and I'll get your comments on the air. Got three stories to go over today. First one up I want to talk about is a release from the Second Amendment Foundation. I'm just going to go ahead and read this release verbatim. Attorneys representing the Second Amendment Foundation and its partners in a challenge of Delaware's ban on so-called assault weapons and large-capacity magazines have filed a brief with the U.S. 3rd District Court of Appeals in a consolidation of cases. SAF is involved in two of the three cases known as Graham v. Jennings and Gray v. Jennings. The appeal brief focuses on three questions: whether Delaware's ban on commonly possessed rifles, mischaracterized as assault rifles, and the ban on large-capacity magazines violates the Second Amendment, and whether the district court erred in refusing to grant a preliminary injunction in both cases. SAF and its fellow plaintiffs are represented by attorneys Bradley Lehman, David Thompson, Peter Patterson, and John Owendorf. Other plaintiffs are the Firearms Policy Coalition, DJJ-AMS LLC, and individual citizens Owen Stevens and Christopher Graham, William Taylor, and Gabriel Gray. A quote from Alan Gottlieb: Delaware has banned the most popular rifle in the country, along with the standard capacity magazines supplied by manufacturers to consumers in most other states. The laws being challenged have literally criminalized ownership of these popular arms and the magazines supplied with them, essentially jeopardizing an act of self-defense if it involves one of the affected arms or magazines. Adam Kraut, our executive director, said each day these laws remain in effect means one more day when Delaware citizens are deprived of their rights. The semi-automatic firearms and ammunition magazines banned by Delaware are in common use for lawful purposes, and the state cannot show they fall within the historical tradition of restricting dangerous and unusual weapons. Because of this, we're asking the court to reverse the district court's order and remand the case with instructions to preliminarily enjoin the state's ban on both the rifles and the magazines. That one released just today from the SAF. These are what this is doing is this is a briefing to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Really, there is no. My understanding is there is not a set time for a decision for this. It's just a briefing. We'll see how things go. Of course, I'll report on things as they go forward. Anything that goes with this. And honestly, Delaware is not the only state where the SAF is fighting assault weapons bans. Bans are up in California and in Illinois for restricting assault weapons. And SAF is fighting there too. I believe in at least one of those, being Illinois, we're joined by the Firearms Policy Coalition as well. Not a lot more to say on this, although it is, of course, we could go to the fact that there are more AR-15 rifles in the United States than there are Ford F-150 pickup trucks. That certainly is common use. And previously, when it was a northeast state, I want to say it was Massachusetts, banned stun guns, and a head nod to Charlie Cook for the air quotes and the funny voice. When there was a ban on stun guns, and I believe it was Massachusetts, SAF won that case, or it was decided by the it was decided by the Supreme Court that 115,000 stun guns in possession of people was enough to be in common use, let alone the tens of millions of AR-15s in use by regular citizens in the United States. I fully expect when this gets to SCOTUS, I'm not gonna. My crystal ball is too darn cloudy to determine whether it's going to be decided in the Third Circuit. I can't tell for sure there. But when it gets to SCOTUS, I have very, very little doubt, as long as we keep the same makeup that we have in the Supreme Court right now, they will decide that, common use does include the AR-15, and no, you cannot ban it. And let me get this comment up from C&T Designs and Arms. He does, as he often does, he corrects, he helps me. That was the Catino case, 250,000 stun guns. Well, more than my 150,000 estimate, but 250,000 still. We've got that, orders of magnitude more ARs are in the hands of regular Americans and therefore are in common use. I want to get this next story. The next two stories, we're probably going to be a little bit shorter tonight, just as we were yesterday, simply because it's just me talking, not me and someone else discussing things. But of course, you could discuss things. You could get comments in, just like old Coop over at C&T did. Let me go ahead and get the Philly District Attorney says politicians need to swear off absurd Second Amendment interpretation. Philadelphia's Democratic District Attorney Larry Krasner called on would-be lawmakers Wednesday to abandon their absurd interpretation of the Second Amendment days after a mass shooting killed 5 people in his city. Gun control laws in the city have been stymied by Pennsylvania's preemption laws, which prevent Philadelphia from instituting its own gun reform. The fight against these preemptive laws will continue, according to Krasner. It's time for this legislature, and frankly, legislatures across the country, to swear off their addiction to NRA money, swear off their addiction to this gun fetish that is really only shared by a moderate quantity of the U.S. population, he said. Most citizens want reasonable gun regulation akin to car regulation, Krasner said. It's time for people who are running for office to swear off NRA money, swear off gun lobby money, to swear off this absurd interpretation of the Second Amendment that has been put out there by militias, much of it untrue, he said. I got to looking into this Krasner, and he wants legislators to swear off NRA money. I found a article that was really interesting. This is from 2020 when he last ran for office. Nearly 3/4 of all contributions to Larry Krasner this year came from outside Philly. Hundreds of individual donations poured in from California, and a couple came from as far as Qatar. Yes, that's the country of Qatar. So Philly. Do you think maybe that was I don't know, Soros money? Because Soros loves to get catch and release district attorneys in the United States, far left district attorneys in the United States. I'd be willing to bet that less than 28% of people that donated to this district attorney lived in the Philadelphia area, let alone Philly itself. I would bet a large amount of that was Soros going to somebody in Qatar, somebody in Los Angeles, somebody in wherever saying, I'll give you $5,000. You have to donate 3,500 of it to this dude. I'm betting that's what happened. And addicted to NRA money, like he's addicted to donations outside of his district. Yeah, this is just more do as I say, not as I do, and the left is great at that. And yeah, let me CNT again. Coop, you're on fire, man. I got to get back. I got to get you emailed. We got to get you back on a Saturday Bullet. We'll hear one of these days. He says, there we go with the NRA boogeyman taking the heat. I'm going to take, because I'm cruising along on these quickly, I'm going to take just a minute here, and I do this every once in a while, but I do want to talk about the NRA. You all know I do have somewhat of a problem with the NRA, and I said to a friend today on the phone, there's a smell at the NRA, and it comes from the very top. We need a strong NRA. Honestly, we need the NRA to continue to be the target that it is for all of the left. For all of the progressives out there that want to blame somebody, we need a strong NRA to be that target. Look, the SAF has been winning case after case after case after case after case in court. Our record is stunning, and we win far, far more than we lose. We need this, I guess, pump fake, where everybody is looking at the NRA, talking about the NRA, and here comes the SAF in and wins in court, while they are over there screaming about the NRA. So we need a strong NRA. And I'm hoping, I know I was also thinking this today, I personally know 4 people that are on the NRA board of directors. I'm hoping the NRA board of directors can right the ship and get the NRA back moving towards a course where it gets stronger and it does do good. Let me get this one. And this is a great point. Again, Coop, the NRA is the only gun group that most non-gun people hear about. That makes it easy for the media to use the NRA as their boogeyman. Well, that is correct. Let me go back. We're looking at 12 years now that I've been doing podcast and broadcasting. And when I very first got into podcasting, it was the second term of Barack Obama, and he had just announced he was running for re-election. The middle of the first term of Barack Obama, he had just announced he was running for re-election. And at that point in time, when I started what was then the Politics and Guns podcast, it has now become the Polite Society podcast. When I very first started that thing, I hadn't heard of the Second Amendment Foundation, and I owned firearms. It was through getting into podcasting, getting into gun rights, that I learned of the Second Amendment Foundation. And from February through October, I learned more and more. In September of that year, I went to my very first gun rights policy conference, and that changed my life as far as gun rights go. I want to get into our And Coop, you got another good comment, but I'm going to wait for a bit to get to that one. I want to get to this next story here. Keep gun buying freaks in Philly and out of New Jersey. This is from the WashingtonExaminer.com. One of Camden County's top elected officials had harsh words and a warning following the July 4th mass shooting in Philadelphia. Commissioner Director Louis Capelli Jr. spoke after the shootings that claimed the lives of 5 people. We want to send a clear message to the thugs and criminals and gun-bearing freaks over in Philadelphia who live in a society of lawlessness. We don't want you here. Stay out of Camden. Stay out of Camden County. Stay out of New Jersey, Capelli said. The Camden Democrat says the guns confiscated on the streets of Camden usually coming from across the river in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. You know, I always thought Philly was part of Pennsylvania. I didn't know there could be an or there. Capelli then praised Camden police and the Camden County prosecutor. He warned, keep your barbaric behavior in Philadelphia and on your side of the river. If you come to Camden, if you come to Camden, he said, we prosecute you and we put you in jail. I'm sorry, was that external? Yeah, no, they actually really, really don't. Let me get. I want to put a. I want to put a graphic up on the screen. It's going to take me just a couple of seconds, so please bear with me here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this up. This is off city-data.com, and I looked up Camden crime stats. And the 2020 crime rate in Camden, New Jersey is 569, which is 2.2 times higher than the U.S. average. It was higher than in 98.1% of U.S. cities. The 2020 Camden crime rate fell by 10% compared to 2019. The number of homicides stood at 23, a decrease of 2 compared to 2019. In the last 5 years, Camden has seen decreasing violent crime and decreasing property crime. Let me zoom in here and show you that this is Camden right here in the orange, and that is there's the legend. There's the orange is the 500, and then look over in Philadelphia. Does that look like there's more crime where my mouse is, or does that look like there's less crime in Philadelphia than there is in Camden? I'm going to zoom in even a little bit closer. Yeah, it looks like even compared to places like Collingswood and Pennsauken, yeah, Camden is a sewer. Camden is the armpit of New Jersey. And let's face it, New Jersey is the armpit of the United States, so being the armpit of the armpit, yeah, this is pot calling kettle black here. No, you're not going to prosecute gun people that come over. If someone commits a crime in New Jersey, you put them in jail for all of 15 minutes and then you kick them out without bail. Unless, of course, they are in the rest of the country a normal person that only happened to carry in New Jersey by mistake. And then you will throw the book at them. And let me see here. Let me get show notes back up here. And the other thing I had a thought on earlier is, I want to go back to this is where the thought came, and I'm sorry, folks, I'm jumping all over the place. I want to go back to that previous story about Larry Krasner, and most citizens want reasonable gun regulation akin to car regulation. Krasner said, well, I can go and buy whatever car I want. Period. There is nothing saying I can't go. And for example, let me pull this. There we go. Pull this little picture up here, right here. I'm going to put that over there. This is off carandriver.com. That is a 2022 Bugatti Chiron. It is a $3.3 million vehicle. If I happen to have $3.3 million, I can go purchase that. And I can do whatever I want with it. There are numerous tracks that I can go race that thing at. There are very few public roads I can take it on, not because of laws, although there are some states that don't allow this particular thing to be on the road because of emissions standards. However, why I'm saying you can't take it on the road in the vast majority of the country is the roads aren't good enough. This thing, and let me scroll down here again. It sits very, very, very low to the ground. If you can see on your screen right there, that thing only sits an inch and a half, 2 inches off the ground. And at speed, it sinks down lower. So, yeah, if I'm rich enough, I can get whatever automobile I want. There are no restrictions, period. So why can't I, if I've got $3.3 million to lay down for a Bugatti, why can't I lay down, I don't know, $3,500 for a full auto? Well, because the government has restricted the supply by saying you could only legally own a full auto that was manufactured in the 1980s or before. And then you've got to have this $200 magic tax stamp that it will take somewhere between now and never for the ATF to issue you. That's why you can't have a... Let me get... all right, I do believe that Tom Walls is watching today. You still need to calm down. Just saying. I think that's Tom. I only get Facebook user if they're in a Facebook group, but yeah. And go over back to a CNT Designs and Arms comment. That's the point of the NFA. If I have $25,000 to pay for a $1,000 gun, I can get it. And that's exactly right. Most full autos, well, I don't want to say most because I really don't have the figures in front of me, but the most common full autos that I have seen are converted Glocks that were not converted. They are Glocks that were before 1984, I believe it was. Or was it 87? It was before the middle 80s. Also, there are some Uzis that were from that generation, but I have seen considerably more Thompsons. You can, how do I put this? What would normally be, if there were no, if shall not be infringed were taken seriously, I would imagine, again, I have no numbers to back this up, I'm just spouting, I would imagine you could buy a brand spanking new M16 or M4 for the neighborhood of $1,800 to $3,000. Brand new. Then your Thompson would go from $20,000 to $1,200 for average condition. And of course, there are going to be Thompsons, there weren't a ton of full autos. Well, there were, but there aren't a lot of full auto Thompsons that survive. And so, would prices fall down to $700-800? Not for most of them, but they would fall precipitously. Oh yeah, and C&T Coop says, I could build a full auto AR or AK for well under $1,000. Sure you can. Sure you could. I don't build firearms. I would rather somebody who knows what they are doing and knows it very well. I would rather have them build it for me, and I will just pay a little bit of money for their expertise. One of my ARs that I currently own, one of them is a Smith & Wesson M&P Sporter 2. The other AR is an FN that I own. Those are the two that I will talk about on the air because everybody's seen them on the air. I just to convert those, I imagine if it were legal to convert them, I imagine converting would be $400 or $500. Then again, I think I would honestly, if I were to convert, I don't think I would go full auto. I would want to go something like a 3-shot burst, simply because I'm a cheap SOB. I don't have that much money to just pour unlimited rounds down range. I would rather be able to do something like pull the trigger, pop, 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 and be able to control it. And just for me, I believe you should be able to, if you want to, I believe you should be able to get full auto. I don't think I would, though. So we are down near the bottom of the hour, and again, without anybody with me, with just me yammering as me, I burned up nearly half an hour. I want to remind everybody, do please come join me and Tom Walls tomorrow for Training Friday. We're going to Training Friday this week. We started off 2 weeks ago talking about grip and stance, and we didn't even completely get through grip before time ran out on us. So, tomorrow we may talk a little bit about grip, but I think we're going to be talking a lot about stance. That's Training Friday tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. That's going to do it for me today. Until tomorrow, everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you, podcast listeners, for listening. Everybody that's commented, thank you for commenting, and we'll see you next time.